Hello and welcome to Simple Life Philosophy. I'm your host Ed Raby. This is the channel where you follow on my journey as I look for a simpler philosophy of life that is both simple to understand and simple to execute on my way to a journey where that simple life gives me productivity, but yet at the same time peace of mind. I want to thank everybody who's liked or shared or subscribed to the channel in the past few days. Always a pleasure to see that subscriber count go up. And I thank all of you for continuing to like the video. Liking the videos and sharing them really helps me out. So it is you that is going to make this channel grow. So the more you believe in it, the more you do, the better I think we'll all be. Um, Today I want to continue on our Stoic Viking meditation series on the Nine Noble Virtues. And in this particular case, I want to talk about perseverance. Um, Perseverance is defined as by the Nine Noble Virtues as I press on against all odds until the goal is met and the task is finished. Now, this, of all the noble virtues, on the one hand, I really think I've got this one down because of how I was raised and some of the things I've gone through. But there's parts of it that I still struggle with. And now I think I'm beginning to understand a little bit better why that is. Okay. And yes, once again, I'm probably going to talk a little bit about autism, but I'm also going to talk about learned behaviors. Okay. Because some of this is a learned behavior. And we teach ourselves sometimes how to persevere, but we don't teach ourselves why stumbling blocks happen and what are some of the things that cause us to not fulfill perseverance. Okay, perseverance says I press on, I press in, whatever preposition you want to use there, against all odds. Now, this is a very Viking mentality. One of the things that Vikings were known for is their relentlessness. When you analyze Vikings as foot soldiers, okay, they were as equipped. They didn't have a technological edge per se as far as soldiering. Okay, what they were was relentless, and they had a belief system that basically said, if I die in battle, I go to Valhalla. Now we can sit there and argue about whether that's a delusional belief system, but what it did is it made them resilient as hell. Okay, because they would press on, they wouldn't quit, and they would. It didn't matter what the odds are. There's an old proverb in that some Viking groups, modern Viking groups, and modern Asatru groups use, and it goes something like this: "Don't tell me how many the enemy are; just tell me where they are." And what it's implying is we don't care what the odds are. Okay, it doesn't matter what the odds are. You press in, you press in, you press in, and you keep going and you keep going. Now, the Vikings, of course, did have a couple technological edges. One was their long ships, which allowed them to engage in probably the world's, or one of the world's first most effective amphibious battle styles, where they could literally hop onto their ships and disappear at a moment's notice and then reappear somewhere else that was undefended. And it made them incredible, gave them an incredible advantage because of their ability to do that. Okay, and they were very, their ships were designed in such a way that they could do shallow water and all that stuff. But what made them formidable warriors was their attitude, that they would not quit until the battle was won. You see this even in battles that they lose. You see them reforming and reforming and reforming. They don't really fall apart until the end. I mean, there's all kinds of legends of Viking groups just holding till the bitter end because they just wouldn't quit. Now, the second part of this virtue, now, how does that fit into the modern day? We all have adversity. I think one of the great tragedies for a lot of people is they are not told that life is adversarial. Okay? You are going to run into adversity in life. Things are not going to go well. You may have goals, you may have tasks to be done, and if you let opposition stop you from doing it, you're not going to do much of anything because everything is oppositional. People have goals. Well, they're going to run counter to other goals, okay, of other people. And that's something that you can't control. And part of this is learning to pick up and keep going. I think it's Rocky Balboa, the fictional character in the Rocky series, has a great, statement. It says it's not how hard you can hit. Life is going to hit you hard. Nobody's going to hit harder than life. But it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit and still keep going forward. That is a very Stoic Viking attitude. Okay, it's like life is going to be difficult. You can either embrace that and understand that and accept it, or you're going to not get much out of it. Because if you're going to go after goals and if you're going to have tasks in front of you, you have to instill in yourself that there's going to be some sort of opposition. Even if it's just the world itself, there's going to be opposition, even if it's not even related to people. Okay, I have a lot of goals and tasks in my life, and I'm going to use my example because I think this fits very well in modern life. I literally watch, for instance, at work, some of the younger generation, and I'm not bagging on younger generations. It's something that I've noticed in them. And maybe this is just a characteristic of youth, and maybe it was part of my generation too. But there's an idealism in their head that somehow, if they have good motives, things will just happen. And that's not true. Okay, you got to get over that fairy tale pretty quick. Life is not going to be fair. It is going to hit hard. It's going to hit hard and try to knock you out. And you have to decide whether the goal, the task, or just plain your virtue of perseverance is the thing that matters. Like I said, I have a problem with this, but I also have some good things. I learned this one early. My father, we're coming up on Father's Day when I'm making this video, and into the future I want to talk about this because my father told me much of what I just said. He never let on to me that life was going to be easy. He told me, hey, Ed, life is going to be hard. You have to decide whether your goals and things that you're after are worth the pain and suffering that's going to ensue. And he said, along the way, life is going to throw you for a loop. It's going to knock you down, and you have to decide at that moment whether or not you're going to get up. He says, but you got to keep getting up. And he was a big, Western movie fan, and he said, sometimes you got to get back on the horse. You get knocked off, you get back on the horse. And so he had that kind of analogy. When I got into high school, our motto back then when I played in high school sports was coyotes never quit. Now our school mascot is the coyote. But, it didn't matter if you were winning the game, losing the game, whatever competition you were in, no matter what the scoreboard said, you never quit or gave up on anything. I remember, watching one of my fellow football players get reamed and cleaned by the coach because he saw that the guy had beat him on a route. The guy caught a pass and was taken off, and the guy just gave up and let him run it let him run it. We were at practice, and my coach lit into him. He says, I don't ever want to see you do that again. You better chase that guy down as if your life depended on it. Even if you don't catch him, you better show me that you want to, that there better be some effort to that. Okay, and people say, well, that's a waste. No, it's not a waste, because here's the thing about that. I remember seeing a game, and that same kid found himself in the same position. He chased that guy down, and the guy tripped a little bit, and he was able to catch him. If he had done what he'd done before, he wouldn't have been in position to catch him. Never, ever quit. No, coyotes never quit. And that was instilled in me too. Now, where's the negative of this? What do you have to watch? Well, you have to watch in that sometimes the odds get to a point where you need help. And I think this can be pushed in a wrong direction. I'm going to talk about self-reliance the next time I speak, but self-reliance is one thing. Self-mutilation with stupidity is another, where you're so independent, that you refuse to ask for help when you genuinely need it is not smart either. This is where things like fidelity come in. This is where hospitality come in. This is where drawing on your honor and going to other people and saying, hey man, I need a hand. That's not a bad thing. Okay, I think too many people think that perseverance is like an individual thing. It's not an individual thing. Uh, the, the place I got over this idea the most was when I realized that I needed help with whatever my issues were. At the time, I didn't know what I was facing. And I swallowed my pride and I went to the clergy project and I said, I need a therapist. Can you recommend one? And they found me one and she's been great. You know, she's uncovered a lot of things from autism to my lack of ability to express my emotions properly, just a whole pack of things. That is getting help, and it's not any way against perseverance. Because if the goal is to be happy and the task is to do the things that make you happy, and you don't function in a way that does that, you need to go find out why that is. Okay, I don't look at therapy anymore any different than somebody told me that they went to a doctor to get their heart checked. Okay, sometimes you need to get your brain checked. Okay, and yeah, psychology is not as ironclad in some ways as scientific medicine for the body, but it's getting there. And I think the more we learn, the more we begin to understand. And that's not against perseverance. Okay, if and the other thing that I've learned with perseverance that's a negative is sometimes you set goals and you have tasks ahead of you, and other things besides your lack of perseverance get you off of them. Okay, in my case, I think the autism kicks in because I'm one of those kind of people that really studies something to the nth degree when I get interested in it, and then I start doing it, and then I get bored. Okay, and it's not a lack of perseverance, it's just I'm not interested in it anymore. And I don't know how to overcome that. That's the part of perseverance that I'm getting, because I read something, I think it was in Atomic Habits, I can't remember who the writer is quoting, but the guy says you have to get past the boring. And he's talking about this guy who's like a world-class power lifter. And he's talking about the fact that nobody's going to go with you to the gym at 3 o'clock in the morning to do all these power lifts that are basically the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And he says, and they're boring and they're dull, but you have to get through the boring in order to get to the final results. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to figure out ways to get past the boring, because my autistic mind gets bored and it wants to move on to something else. And learning how to focus and stay focused is an aspect of perseverance, and that's the part I'm still struggling with. And maybe you're struggling with it too, but it's like you need to understand that asking for help isn't against perseverance, and you also need to understand that sometimes it's not a lack of perseverance, but a poor understanding of what perseverance should do that does it. Who the real enemy is. Well, I'm just not trying hard enough. No, you might be bored. This subject no longer excites you, and you need to get past the boring to get to your task and to your result. And this virtue talks about the goal is met and the task is completed. And that's the issue for me. I'm trying to figure out how to complete the task. I'm trying to meet my goals. And I got to get past the boring and persevere through the boring to do the habits that get me to where I need to be. And so that's kind of where I am with this one. Well, this has been, Simple Life Philosophy with your host, Ed Raby, and I've been talking about the Stoic Viking virtue of perseverance. And I just want to, encourage you to kind of think about, you have a lot of obstacles against you. Don't quit. Keep getting up. It's not bad to reassess goals, but, make sure that you've done everything possible that you can do. And don't be afraid to ask for help for doing that. Persevere together, okay? Sometimes you need a team of people to accomplish a goal or a task, and you need to persevere in creating that team and achieving the goal. So don't give up. Keep going. Press on against all odds. Be like a Viking and not care what the odds are. But also remember that sometimes you can even the odds or make the odds in your favor by getting help and understanding who the real enemy is. Sometimes it's not just, you have the gumption, you have the grit. What you don't have is the excitement anymore. And sometimes it's the lack of excitement that's the problem. And you need to pass on through the boring to get to the real results that you're looking for. So thank you once again for stopping by. I appreciate everybody. Make sure you like the video if you like it, share it, subscribe to the channel, comment below, hit your notification bell. So do all the things that YouTubers do. And I hope that you continue to look forward in perseverance to your own life and that you will find also your own simple philosophy of life. And I hope and wish you a great day.